Hey, what's going on, sports fans? This is Sean with boxing and basketball. It's funny. Last time we had Jamel on, we rebranded. Before it was Boxing Socialist, right? So then, everybody's like, man, you why don't you talk some basketball? Boxing and basketball go hand in hand. And the more I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, those are the two top sports I actually watch is boxing and basketball. So I was like, let me rebrand, take off Boxing Socialist, and do boxing and basketball, man. So what do you think about that? Is that true? Boxing and basketball kind of go hand in hand. I see a lot of NBA players that love boxing.
Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of NBA players they love the sport of boxing. I mean, Dame was actually looking forward to seeing my last fight. You know what I mean? So, and there's others who actually get into work for boxing in terms of working out. So yeah, basketball and boxing do play hand in hand in terms of that mutual respect.
Right, right. All right. So for everybody out there, we got Jamel Herring, former WBO champion, 23-3. Jamel, the last time we talked, you were getting ready to face Shakur Stevenson,
Right.
and everybody was looking forward to that fight. People were labeling it the crafty veteran versus the young and upcoming young buck, the young kid.
Right.
And the fight, man, it was a back and forth to me. But eventually, as time went on, he ended up getting the victory.
Right.
How tough was a fight was Shakur for you? What's something that you didn't maybe anticipate or didn't see,
No,
or
it's
what
crazy.
do you think happened?
I thought I'm not gonna lie. I thought on my end, I thought if I kept pushing it, he would eventually
Mhm.
slow down. Because
Right,
if you go by his numbers in the past, the output starts to drop. But he
right,
actually really surprised me when in those mid rounds, and I kept trying to push him and push him and push him. He was hanging in there, and he was firing back at all cylinders. So that really surprised me. But like I already knew the skill set with Shakur was always there, so I wasn't surprised with that. But like man, like yo, he basically showed out a whole another side and dynamic of his arsenal, and I give him that respect.
right, right. Um, how hard, we were watching the lead up to the fight, y'all getting ready to do your ring walk, and we see and we all know that Terrence Crawford is friends with both of y'all. So we see him go over, wish good luck to Shakur. He's in your corner. How hard do you think of a difficult spot that was for Terrence, being that he's friends with both of y'all?
I'm telling you like this, man. He didn't want us to fight to begin with at
Oh,
all.
he didn't want y'all to fight.
Nah, he didn't like the fight at all. He wasn't feeling it from the get go. Like he is to the point where he wasn't helping me. Like usually in all my camps he'll help out, but he wasn't helping me in the camp at all. He wasn't going to Shakur's camp to help him out. Like he didn't want anything to be in anything to do with that fight. If you really look at it, also, I post a lot of videos and everything. He wasn't in any of my videos throughout that whole camp because he didn't want to be a part of that in any way. So, and I respect it because Bud got a lot of love for both me and Shakur. But yeah, he wasn't feeling it, man.
Right, right. Before I get to my next question, we got something from a fan here. I'll post it up there. Steve Kim tweeted, Jamel has multiple options for his next fight. Is it possible for the champ to give us a little hint?
Man, my man Steve Kim, he'll know more than before I even know. To be honest, because Steve talking to everybody from on in every side of the street. But one name that I kept hearing for a while actually was Miguel Burchell. At 135. Fighting him at 135. But then things had changed a bit. It go back and forth. Really, it go back and forth. But that's the main name that's sticking out is Burchell. But I know Top Rank does have they have other options available. But I think right now the number one name that I'm hearing at least is Miguel Burchell.
Okay, okay. Man, I hope you get that fight, man. Get right back in the mix.
Right.
So let me ask you this. So, Jamel, I don't is Jen around right now? Is she in the background?
She's out MIA.
Okay. All right, yeah. Listen, the camera, if you could see what we're seeing from the TV, the camera was zoomed in on Jen. At the end, when Shakur came back to the locker room, said, hey, he was trying to apologize to your wife. Hey, it's just boxing. I didn't mean anything by it. And if you look at this, if you see the camera, I don't know if you went back and watched it. Jen had this look like, or if I could just strangle you
I
and choke
think
you
it's
out right
crazy. I
now.
think that was like that stare was trending more than the damn whole fight, yo. Like I mean, a lot of her, I think a lot of her followers came from just that moment, which is crazy. But like even now, her and Shakur, they speak. You know, they are on good terms. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
But it was just the heat of the moment. I was just like, whatever, fight's over with. It is what it is. You know, you
yeah,
see, whatever.
yeah.
Nah, she
And look,
wasn't. Nah,
and Jamel, we knew. Listen, from a guy's standpoint, we know that was just boxing. It was
right.
just trash talk. It was to build up the fight. We knew that it was nothing personal. We knew it was just trash talk and fight talk, right? But Jen didn't play that, and I understood because Jen's like, man, we know each other. You don't have to stoop to that level and try to sell a fight. Now we knew, but our heart was kind of like, yeah, Jen's a real one. Like she's ready to throw down for her
Nah,
man.
yeah, she was. Yeah, she wasn't for it, man. But everything, everything cool though, man.
Yeah. And listen, tell us what kind of love did you get out of Atlanta? What was it like in Atlanta?
Nah, man. Yeah, I'm kind of upset with Atlanta, man.
Really?
Nah, like yo, like Atlanta's cool. Don't get me wrong. I got people down there. I get people down. I'm talking about like when I got in the ring though. It was
Uh-huh.
actually the first time I actually got booed, like during the
Oh, they
introductions.
were booing you?
I was getting booed. Yeah, man, I was getting
Oh,
booed. Yo.
wow.
I was like, damn, this ain't a Jamel Herring fight. You know, like, yo, I'm getting booed. So I'm like, man, I gotta just play. That's why I kind of had like a little smirk during the introductions. Like, I mean, I had my cheers, but I'm like, yo, it's the first time I actually been in an environment where like I heard a lot of boos. So I was like, man, but like it's no love lost in Atlanta, but like, man, Atlanta's tough, man, on you, man. They ain't, yeah, it
Right.
was. But nah, but like during the whole promotional build up and everything, like for the most part, everyone was cool.
All right. And Jamel, after a tough fight like that, and y'all talking afterwards, what's something like what are promoters like Bob Arum, like what does he come and say to you afterwards?
Oh, no, they're actually cool, man. Because let's be honest, I've seen things where like a fighter take a loss and that was it. Like
Okay.
it's nice knowing you.
Yeah, time to part ways.
good luck. Whatever you got, whatever your future endeavors. Good luck to you. But nah, they were cool. They were just like, listen, go home, heal up, rest up,
Good.
and we'll plan the next. We'll plan the comeback. We'll plan the
Right.
comeback. But at that time, I'm thinking like, man, forget a comeback. I don't even like. Right now, I don't want to think about boxing at all.
Right.
Like, but that just goes to show, like, even during my worst moments, they were still, they were with me. So it's all good. And right now, we just trying to work on, the comeback.
All right. So right after that October fight, you caught it good because you fought right before Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Right.
So you
Finally.
were able to eat pretty good those two holidays,
Finally.
right?
Right. Yeah. Finally. I usually been training and can't like when I was fighting Frampton, I missed Thanksgiving and I almost missed Christmas, but they had postponed everything back.
Right, right. All right. So did you expect your friend Terrence Crawford? Now I knew he was going to beat Sean Porter, but did you expect him to stop Sean Porter, the first person to ever do it?
Um, I knew he was determined. Don't get me wrong, but I knew it was gonna be I thought it would be like a tough ass task because this is Sean. Like, I
Right,
mean, we seen Sean in like the Keith Thurman fights, and in the Errol when he fought my boy Errol, and Sean been hit with it. You can hit him with the kitchen sink, and you
right,
might put him down, of course, or you might make him buckle. But
right,
like what I mean, like the stop him, that was a real statement. And of course, people have their people upset. They kind of trying to lower Terrence's performance by saying Kenny's the reason why it's called a technical knockout. But I think Kenny was probably seeing the beginning of the end. So
right.
you know what I mean. So yeah, I mean, it's still a huge accomplishment, but much respect to my guy Sean. This guy fought everybody in his in his era, pretty much. And just in that division alone. And I wish Sean everything the best.
All right. So before I hit my next question, Chris got another one.
Right.
I've seen you go back and forth with the UK cat on social media. I know you have better options, but would you entertain that fight just to shut him up? Who's he talking about, Jamel?
He talking about Archie Sharp. My man Archie Sharp. My man got it, man. He brings me up every other week as if I need him. But if it gets me over there to the UK, whatever, you know what I'm saying, to shut him up, I have no issue doing that. But Archie Sharp isn't a big name. He right now he's actually Shakur's mandatory. He's actually Shakur's mandatory at the WBO. He's the number one. But if I was him, I would focus more on I would focus on more on trying to secure that world title spot instead of him, focusing too much on me, because you messing with me, I can ruin all your plans. You know what I mean? But it's an Archie Sharp. But if they want me to go over there to shut them up, then make the fight. It don't matter. It don't matter to me.
Right. What was it like after Terrence win? What was it like back in the locker room?
It was quiet. I'm not gonna lie, it was quiet, man. Like,
yeah.
But
wasn't really a lot of celebration and all that.
Nah, not for that fight. My side wasn't celebrating, but it was cool. Like I said, he came out there.
Oh no, wait a minute, not the Shakir.
I'm about to say, yeah.
No. I'm talking about after Terrence beat Sean Porter.
Oh, Sean.
What was it like in the locker room after that? Was a lot of celebrating?
For Buzz? Oh yeah, it was good. Everybody, of course, the team was happy. I mean, like I said, but it's funny because before they even fought, I'm cool with Sean, so I went to go to his locker room, check up on him, see how he was doing, hug it out, say what up, wish him the best of luck. Then I headed back to the Buzz room. But after the fight, I seen Sean again, and I gave him that same love and respect as I did before the fight. And of course, I'm with Buzz. I mean, me and Bud were with the same circle, and everybody was happy for him. Everybody is of course, especially his family is a big presence at all this fight. So they were still ecstatic, and it was just a good vibe. I mean, I was kind of like we were all on both ends. On Bud's side, we were all, showing a lot of love and respect to Sean when he announced retirement and everything. But man, it was nothing like too crazy or like disrespectful or tasteless or anything in that manner. But yeah, everybody was good.
All right, and so I want to ask this, but I don't want to get too much into it. I was kind of blown away with the Terrence Crawford lawsuit against Bob M, right? And we're not really going to get into it, but I wish I had a video clip up before the lawsuit came up. I was talking with Garcia. We're doing a live stream like we're doing now.
Right.
And we're just talking about him and Bob M and stuff like that. And, I think the question I asked, I said, how would you manage Terrence Crawford's career at this point after the Sean Porter victory? And Garcia was like, and it's ironic because it's like a day or two before the lawsuit, and Garcia was like, man, Bob and them, they're okay, man. And he said, but some of the staff people he got working for him, they just don't know how to market our culture in this day and time. This is not like the Ali days and this and that. And I just thought it's interesting how he thought, the marketing of the Black culture. Right. And then they see like 2 days later, we saw the lawsuit come out, man. Were you just blown away as well?
Yeah, because honestly, I didn't see it. I didn't see it coming. Like, I don't really get into, like I said, respectfully, I don't get into much into Bud's, his business. So like when I found out with the rest of the world. But like I said, for me, it was just one thing where like, it's my brother at the end of the day. So I'm always gonna rock with my brother. But at the same time, I respect the business on my end where I'm not going to go out there, and burn my bridge.
Sure, absolutely.
But I definitely didn't see that. I was actually shocked. Like I said, I didn't know nothing.
So you found out like the rest of us.
Like, there'll be some other news, like he may be signed with PBC or something like that. But I was like, I wasn't expecting like a full blown out lawsuit.
And you know what? And I'm glad you said about the PBC because in that same talk with Garcia, I'm just blown away. Just my personal thing, the Tim Smith interview. First of all, Tim Smith doesn't do interviews, and I'm like, who put you up to do like an hour interview talking about the business of boxing? But yet and still, he got mad and trashed the new boxing media because why do we talk about the business side? I'm like, man, if you're going to talk about how much money you sell in the gates and how much money these guys make, you're bringing us into talking about the business. Never really talk about the fights.
You opening the door. Can of worm. Yeah, you opening that door to speak.
And I just hate the fact that he feels that there's no money for the Errol Spence Terrence Crawford fight, and everybody. This is the first time that I even saw the PBC fans turn on Tim Smith and PBC. Like, dude, you're crazy. This is like one of the most lucrative fights that can be made right now. Is Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford? Like, even the PBC fans are like, how dare you even say something like that?
It's business. That's all I say.
Do you think that's don't you think that's pay-per-view worthy? Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford?
I believe so, but like I said, it's just the bigger heads that play a role in the background are the ones who really make the decisions at the end of the day. Sometimes, man, like as a fight fan, not even as a fighter, as a fight fan, I still like to see it. Those are both my brothers. I love them to death.
Yeah,
It's still one of the biggest fights in the division, if not one of the biggest fights in the sport. But at the same time, it's like everyone has a role that they have to play or fall into
sure.
to get there, and there was a reason why. There's a reason why he was able to go out there and say whatever he had to say on that topic, even if it was for him getting shot down by his own fan base, as you may say. But
Right.
like I said, man, everything. Like I said, don't like when you see stuff. There's a rhyme and a reason why these things are being said and done.
Got you. Jamel, let me ask you this. Were you shocked or surprised that Gary Russell's lost the other day?
Like I said, I when I was watching it, it was to me it was closer. It was close. It was a lot close for comfort. Than what I would have thought of from that fight being announced to where we ended up, how it ended. You know what I mean? But I mean, he did show instances where something was bothering him, but like a true champion, he kept pushing it out and kept fighting. But I knew, like I said, I knew going into that into the scoring, it was going to be close. So I can't say that I was really surprised, because I thought it was a real close fight to begin with, especially when it got to those mid to late rounds.
Right.
But like I said, much credit to Gary, man. He still went out there and he fought his heart out as much as he possibly can. And it didn't go his way, but that doesn't mean that's the end of Mr. Gary Russell. He just he just had a setback.
Because Jamel, watching a fight, I know this might sound a little crazy, but I think Gary did better with one hand pot shotting him from the 6th to the 12th round than he did with both hands. Like, I was blown away how he was tagging him with one hand for 6 rounds. I'm looking like,
he had to dig deep.
Mark,
it's that championship mindset. He had to dig deep.
Yeah,
and you just got, okay, if you lose one weapon, now you gotta rely on whatever you have left in your arsenal, and you gotta be sharp and calculated. And he was calculated with his punches. But I think that for the most part, the judges, because you guys got to remember what different judges score different things. Like, you might have a judge that scores more on cleaner punches, and you might have a judge that scores a lot on aggression and fighters that push the fight. So just like I said, you got to be aware of all those things, or how these judges are scoring these fights.
Right. And Jamel, as a fighter, and this is not for you to attack Gary Russell. I don't want nobody to think this. But you as a fighter, do you watch a fight like that and in your mind think, man, there's no way I'm gonna let a one-handed fighter beat me?
Nah, not at all, honestly, man. Because you can go in there and being overconfident, in that one hand, might catch your ass slipping. You might, you might get hit. Like I said, hey, he may not have two hands, but he might catch you with a good hook. You know what I mean? Put you down because you were being overzealous. You know what I mean? And things like that. So and plus you don't know if he's really hurt, or if he just, if he's just trying to bait you in. So you still got to go out there and fight your fight and do what you got to do.
Right. And let me ask you something about that, Jamel. So it was almost 2 years since Gary Russell fought, right?
Right.
I want you to break down for the people that, from a boxer standpoint, break down to us what is ring rust versus there's some fighters that have such a long layoff and they come out and say, man, this is the best thing that could ever happen to me. I'm fresh and rejuvenated. But then there's some fighters that have long layoffs and it hurts them completely. Can you break all that down from the ring rust to that?
The fighters that sit out too long, it hurts. I mean, just look at it, for instance, during the pandemic. that pushed a lot of fights back alone. That pushed a lot of fights back during the pandemic, and you started seeing it. You started seeing it just for the, you know what I mean, from just literally just looking at a fighter fighting during that time, or after, after everything was starting to calm down, at least till before the pandemic. And it was like the ring rust showed that like some fighters, they need to be in that ring more often than some, because when after a while, when you start to, your body starts to react differently to the way the fight plays out. And at times, you may not be able to catch that second win until a little bit later than you would normally do if you didn't have that ring rust. But some fighters who actually need the time off and said they probably felt better when they go back into the next fight, because their body probably just been through a lot, like and they've been through hell, and you need rest. But like I said, you have to learn how to balance the proper amount of rest, and then get the proper amount of activity needed for to be successful in that higher level of opposition.
Right. Got you. Hey, listen, and do you think that possibly we might in the future see you move up to 135? And right now, everybody seems like they're gunning for George Kambosos. Do you think that could be a fight in the future?
No, I mean, right now, like I said, I'm not like, I'm honest. Like, I got to get back on the in the win column. You know what I mean? I can't go up. I can't move up and just start calling shots. I got to go back out there and
Got
make
you.
a statement again. And that's just the reality. On top of that, if that's a tough question to really even give an answer, because since he has majority of the titles, a lot of other fighters are already ahead in line. You know what I mean? And then you also got to take consideration to dealing with certain sanctioned bodies. This sanctioned body may want their mandatory to fight him next, or this sanctioned body may want to get their guy in the mix. So you gotta look at everything around the board. I mean, if it was a situation where the titles were spread out and you had options to fight this guy or that guy, then it'd be a different story. But right now, what I'm saying, George Kambosos is looking at guys like the Devin Haney's, the Lomachenkos, and
Right.
do you really want to sit around and hope that those fights do happen, and then you get your shot afterwards? I don't know.
Right. So Chris had a question. Tevin Farmer has said there are negotiations for a fight with Ryan Garcia. Given you're also a former 130-pound champion, would you entertain a fight with Ryan? And what do you think of that fight?
That's a fight. I mean, I would entertain it for starters. I would entertain it, but that's another fight again. Another fighter, at least we'll see how the inactivity, you know, plays with him. And then like with that situation, it's like a smart fighter, would want to jump on the opportunity, and press him early in that fight. But again, he's also, if he's fighting a guy like Tevin, I think has more of a longer layoff than Ryan does. 'Cause I think Tevin's last fight was when he fought Jojo Diaz for defending his title
Right.
at the time. And I think since then Jojo already fought, at least twice. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I think like I said, those fights, when you see fights like that, it's kind of like strategic, or at least on the even playing field. They both had long layoffs, but and like I said again, Tevin is moving up. I fought at 135, and I moved down, but so I have no issue moving back up to 135 and making those big fights as well. But I mean, like I said, if the fight makes sense for me, why not?
Yeah, you're right. He last fought Jojo Diaz January 30th, 2020. So you're right,
Yeah,
two
that's what I'm
years
saying.
ago
So he got
to
a
this day.
longer. Yeah, that's 2 years right now. We're looking at.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I want to introduce our co host, Alejandro. If you see, he's rocking that San Diego jersey. That's where he's from Cali. You had any questions,
Hey,
Alejandro?
I was having a little bit of issues with my connections, but I'm all good now. Just how you doing, Jamal?
I'm good. I'm
Jamel,
good, man. I'm
everything
good.
good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
So
Everything
let
good.
me
Just
ask you, what did you think of the Gary Russell fight?
We just
um,
we just talked about it. You just
I
missed
Oh,
got
it.
missed it. It was interesting. Like I said, I had it close. I had it close. And especially going down the wire. And then you see him, finching and everything. But I mean, like I said, the guy did what he had to do. He took it to the champion, and he came out on top. Hopefully, I hope they can give Gary maybe a chance to maybe get his belt back. But I mean, it happens. It happens, especially like again, like we was pointing out with those sometimes the layoffs they don't help, especially at the end of the day, us as fighters we're getting older. We're not getting younger, so that layoff may react differently in your body than it would did 2-3 years ago. So you gotta look at everything going around, in your atmosphere.
Hey Jamel,
So, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'll let you come back with the question real quick.
Go ahead.
I just want to finish off what I was talking about, George Kambosos, right? So everybody remembers when Manny Pacquiao beat Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner acted a fool at the end. He said the whole hood knows I done beat Manny, and nobody want to listen to Adrian. Like, Adrian, you living in reality. Everybody felt that same way after Teofimo Lopez lost to George. They're like, dude, you didn't win that fight. And I hate it. Just seemed like he was a sore loser, at that point in time, right? Sometimes it's just not your night. Sometimes the better man just won that night. Doesn't mean that you can't beat that person. That was just their night. Right. What was your thoughts watching that post-fight interview? Him and his dad's like, this is ridiculous. We did not lose this fight.
They said T.O.'s my guy, but like I said, I didn't agree with the way he carried himself with that situation. I thought it was a good fight. He came back. He put George down. He dug deep, but George fought his ass off as well. And give credit to George. It was a good fight for both. It was a good fight. It was entertaining, but if anything, like even with like my situation, like I don't hold any grudges or make any excuses for my defeat to Shakur. He was just a better man. Hey, go out. All I told him was, hey, go out there, represent the division like a true champion. Continue doing what you do. I'm always root for you, and that was it. I just went on my business. It doesn't mean that I can't bounce back and become a champion again in my own right. But some fighters, when they feel like they're at a certain level, they think that they can't. Sometimes they just can't be beaten. I mean, which any fighter should feel like they can beat anyone out there. But like when it happens, it's all good when you're getting praise for it. But like some fighters don't know how to react and take it when you're on the opposite end of it. And I just felt that he could have just taken a lot better and handled it more maturely. Because if anything, they killed him on. So they hit him hard on social media, like to the point where no one didn't want to hear from him or see from him again. But for me, it's just like I said, hey man, credit to y'all fight, but just be a true champion. Take your defeat, on the chin, whatever, and just come back stronger. That's all you can do.
Right, absolutely. Go ahead, Alejandro.
So, what do you think of him not wanting the rematch and saying that he's going to move up in weight?
I think he should go for a rematch. Honestly, truthfully, because me and Tio, we share the same nutritionist, and him squeezing down to 130 was actually playing. It was playing playing a cause in his decision making in terms of moving up. I think he squeezed down enough, long enough to get down to lightweight, and I don't think he wants to do it anymore. I think even if he would have won that fight, he was already planning on moving up regardless, and that's why you kept seeing the conversations about him fighting Josh Taylor at 140 because if it came out on top, he was already determined to move up to 140 to fight Josh.
Okay, and I want to ask you because I seen a lot of videos and how you're part of the Terrence Crawford camp. Right. Have you sparred Terrence and how and if you have how those sparring's gone?
Man, those sparring sessions are intense, but at the same time you learn a lot. Now, like I was saying earlier, though I haven't sparred him for my last camp because he didn't want the fight between me and Shakur at all, and he didn't want to be a part of it in any manner. So he wasn't going to try to help me out, and he wasn't going to try to help Shakur out because we're both his brothers. So it's been a while since we actually sparred each other. But when we do spar, like I said, he helped me for the Carl Frampton fight, and that helped my game a lot. Just learning, and when we get in there, it ain't buddy stuff. It toughens you up. And it actually for me it gets my ring IQ a lot higher because he's a smart fighter. So you gotta be wary, and you gotta be aware of where you're at in that ring at all times. But it's always good. Like I actually miss sparring from him because I get more out of sparring with a guy who's on the pound for pound list than I would do with a
Yeah.
regular cat that you have vastly amount of talent over.
Right.
Okay.
And look, Jamel, I didn't get a chance to talk to you two weeks before the fight because you were in the zone, get ready for your fight. 2 weeks prior, before your fight, what did you think of the Fury versus Wilder 3 fight?
I was there. I was there. Actually, I was there live. It was crazy. Much credit to Wilder, but like I said, Tyson just proved, why he's just the man in the division right now, the better man. I mean, it was great, especially from like seeing, Wilder was really down on the cards and seemed like he was out of it, and that one punch power that he possesses, you know, it put his man down not once but twice, and he kept fighting. You know what I'm saying? He went out, he went out his way. No one, what I mean, when his body couldn't give, that's when it was over. But I thought it was a entertaining fight. But I've like I said, credit to Fury. Most people don't get up from Wilder's power, and he got up, and he fought back and put him down to end it all.
Right. Another question poured in. As someone who shared a ring with both Josh Taylor and Crawford, how do you envision that potential fight playing out?
That's a good fight. That's a good fight. I mean, I shared the ring with Josh back in 2011. Yeah, 2011.
Uh-huh.
Now, we was amateurs. We was amateurs. That fight is somewhere on YouTube. Matter of fact, me and Josh always joke about it. I think Josh, yeah, we fought in the UK. He had beat me by like 2 points, but
Oh,
then
wow.
we became good friends, and we were friends. We're still friends to this day. And of course, I train with Bud all the time, but I think that's a real good fight. And Josh Taylor's actually surprised a lot of people just from if you look at his Olympic class, he's probably the least mentioned guy at that time to do anything significant, going into the pros. And Josh, has exceeded everything that's been asked of him. So I think it's a good
Right.
fight, especially if he's talking about moving up, soon to the welterweight division.
Right.
Hmm.
Hey, Jamel, I meant to ask you last time. Right now, after all the fights that happened in 2021, tell me who is your top five pound for pound, no
Top
matter what
five.
weight class,
I mean, I don't even have an order, but I can give guys like
or
of
your
course
top five favorite
you got
fighters
to
that
put
you love to watch.
Canelo,
Canelo one,
of course Bud Spence, NOA,
two, three,
Perry, um,
four.
there's so many, man. There's so many of those a lot of these guys. What I'm saying, I give a lot of respect to you. You got to give guys like credit, like my man Josh Taylor, as we just mentioned. You know what I mean? Like he's undisputed in his own division. So you got to acknowledge those guys as well. But yeah, man, it's a lot of great talent, and sometimes we always see like the more common ones, like they speak about Canelo, of course, a lot, which rightfully so, man. Canelo's he's doing his thing, but like I like guys again like NOA, and and those guys who don't get as much the limelight as the bigger names.
Right,
Hmm.
right. And what
Well,
are some of the fights coming up this year that you're looking forward to? Is there any fights in particular you just can't wait to see?
I'm actually hoping that we can get an undisputed heavyweight champion. You know what I mean? So I hope
Mm,
that maybe we can get an Usyk and Fury fight, to happen sooner than later. It's been a while since we had an undisputed heavyweight champion. I mean, like for over a decade, since
right,
Since
right,
Lennox era. You know what I mean?
right.
So I'm hoping I'm looking forward to Jamel Charlo's his rematch coming up.
Hmm.
And even not even just the championship fights. I want to. There's a lot of prospects that's stepping up. I want to see what the statement that Jerron Boots Ennis he makes this year, as well as like
Right.
the Virgil Ortiz's of the world, and
hmm.
so on. So, and like I said, of course, I want to see how Shakur versus his fight goes with Valdez. So
Right.
I mean, yeah, and hopefully, man, in fact, hopefully we can get Devin. Devin can get maybe the Cambosos fight or whatever. Because I think he's at a point where he's about to also maybe move up because he's probably outgrown. He's outgrowing the division as well. So
Yeah.
we'll see.
Right.
So
And go ahead,
go,
Alejandro.
good. So we've been talking about fighters outgrowing the division, what's like the first thing you feel when you go into a camp and you're like, you know what? I think it's time for me
I
to
think
move up.
I honestly it stops even before camp because like I said, if you out there, I mean, you can see me right now. I didn't put on 30, 40 plus pounds. It's all about how you take care of yourself, in between those camps. If you're going into camp, the basically and we as we call it is as fat camp, where you're focusing more on killing your body to make the weight rather than to work on technique and a strategy. That's when it's time to be like, you know what, you probably outgrown this weight class because even when after your fights you put on 30, 40 plus pounds, you know what I mean? All you're doing is hurting yourself and it takes away from your performance in the end. See, like for me, even as I get older, I can still make 130 pounds without an issue because I take care of my body. I don't go out here and get crazy and eat everything in sight. You know what I mean? I can go and when you have it's more science today with all sports, man, in all sports, not even just boxing. So like you start seeing a lot of fighters, they have nutritionists now, and with me personally, I still check my weight even when I'm not even in camp. So my nutritionist can monitor my weight. And then if it gets too crazy and it has, thank God it never has, but if it has ever did, we can fix it then and there. So when I do go to camp, that we're on the right track that she wants to be on instead of me trying to just lose weight. So a lot of that actually that actually comes into a fighter's mind even before the camp, to be honest with you. A lot of these fighters know when it's time to it's time for me to move up. But, they feel like, well, I'm champion here and the money is good and I have an obligation. So I'm going to do what I got to do to make this weight. But I know that sooner rather than later, I got to eventually make my move to the next weight class.
Jamel, this is why I never understood Jamel. I understand sometimes you're straining, you're trying to get down. You might go to the weigh-in, you might be a half pound off. Cool, you might can hit the sauna, run outside for about an hour or whatever couple hour limit they give you, right? But I never understood guys come in and they're 6, 7 pounds over. Like, dude, you know this before you step on a scale. Like, I don't get that. Do you?
I mean, I can't answer that. I mean, it's crazy. Like, you usually know
Oh, we
fight
got a special guest.
you usually know fight night when you can't. I mean, fight week when you about to have a serious problem. And if you get to the weigh-in, you're still about 6, 7 pounds off. You know what I'm saying? That right there, says a lot right there. Like, you know what I mean? So I thought you're gonna say that, there's times when guys get to the weigh-in and they can't cut those last 4 ounces. And I can tell you why, because that also goes to tell you that a fighter probably came in real heavy, during that camp or even fight week, and they body gave everything that it possibly can give, and there's nothing else for it to lose. So when I see people say, "Oh, he missed the weight by half a pound," well, you don't know how hard it was to even get him down that low, of that, of that difference. Because some fighters, I've seen fighters come in there 15 pounds heavy during fight week, and they got as much as that they can, but it's like at that last moment, they can't get that last pound or half a pound off because their body done took a beating just getting that weight off as it is.
Right. So I had to put that on the board. It says Miss Herring here.
I don't know what it is.
All right. This one fighter wanted to go back. He said, have you watched the Shakira fight to see anything you would improve on or find any mistakes you did?
I think I started off too slow. And I think I made the mistake of trying to box with the boxer, the skillful. I mean, I'm not saying that I don't have skill, but like that was Shakur's bread and butter. That's why like you got it for somebody like him, you might have to turn into a dogfight. I'm not saying that the fight probably would have turned out any different in terms of who would have won the fight, because like I said, I feel like when I did step on the gas, he actually took it to another level as well. Like he stepped up his game. You know what I mean? Because he was getting,
right.
He was getting hassled saying at one point people were saying, "Oh, he plays it too safe. He plays it too safe. He's too defensive. And his punch output lowers as as the fight goes on. But like he surprised me when I kept pushing and pushing and pushing. He was right
Right.
there with me. He was right there with me, fighting just as hard as I was, if not harder. So I mean,
Right.
but for me, yeah, if I ever changed anything differently, I probably would have started a lot faster. But just at the end of the day, the better man won. Just no excuse. He was just the better
Right.
man, and that was that. You know what I mean? Of course, I can learn. I mean, for my own personal reasons, of course, I can learn from the fight. And going into maybe the next fight and what I need to work on as a fighter. But no, I mean, credit to Shakur. He every time I had an answer, he had another answer to answer that. You know what I mean? To answer that
Right.
right
Right.
back.
Right.
So
Right.
it was one of those things. But I mean, yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm just glad that I was actually a part of another big fight, during the year. And much respect to my boy. It is what it is.
So during that fight, what do you think was the like his biggest skill, or like that would bring problems to anybody that would face him?
Besides, his defense, because he's hard. Yeah, man, it's hard. It's hard. Like you got to stay in his chest, and that's not really my game. You guys like I like the boxes, but it's like man, you gotta step out your comfort zone. You know what I mean? But like besides
Right.
staying in his chest, because of his defense, it's his timing and he
Mhm.
knows his range. He knows his range. Every time you feel like you getting a little too close, he'll stop you. You know what I mean? He'll stop you. But he'll put something in you. He'll put something in front of you to throw you off your game or whatever. Or he knows how to move around the ring really well. Like I couldn't like when I really got to the point where I was like, forget them. I'm gonna go just step to him. He was always one step ahead or he was gone. So it was like I had to keep resetting. And by then, he's throwing combinations when I'm trying to get my feet under me again. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like it could be very frustrating. But like basically, he's a good good at chess. You know what I mean? He's always was a step ahead of the game.
All right. And also, I wanted to ask you, how was that Carl Frampton fight experience? The whole experience and all that you winning over there and coming back the champ and going all the way to Dubai to fight. How was that?
I mean, it was cool. I mean, it was cool. It was actually a lot. Like I put in my book, it was actually a lot that I had to endure just to get there. To Dubai. With everything, with all the setbacks I had to go through, and plus, the postponements. But when I got to Dubai, I was just happy just to finally get my feet on the ground. Like, okay, I'm here now. Forget all this sightseeing, man. I gotta take care of business.
Yeah.
My team and their family, they can go out and enjoy the country, whatever. But for me, I was laser sharp in because that was my first big name on my resume, and I wanted to go out there and perform at my best. And so and I was determined. You guys seen the negatives things I had to go through with the Okendo situation. So I was like, I had a statement to be made that for that fight, and I went out there and I did what I had to do, and what I'm saying, and I'm proud that I got the biggest victory in my career.
All righty. And how do you see that Shakur Stevenson fight playing out with Valdez
It's gonna be tough.
if it
And
happens?
it's gonna be tough for Valdez, and nothing against Valdez because there's nothing against that because I lost to Shakur. I go by from what I just see from just style wise. Like if you look at Valdez's last fight, he had a hard time with the boxer. You know what I mean? Consejo, when he was using his reach and his
Mhm.
distance, he was giving Valdez a lot of fits and issues in those first 4 or 5 rounds. You know what I mean? And a guy like Shakur, he'll try to pick you off and box you every round if you let him. You know what I mean? So like I think Valdez has to really step it up a gear and really like try to do some of the things he did against Consejo in his last fight when he started putting his foot on the gas and just just letting his hands go because if you sit there and wait too long and think, um, that's when you're gonna play into Shakur's game and he's gonna pick you apart.
Jamel, let me ask you something. Is it dangerous to a certain extent to fight a fighter that feels they don't have nothing to lose? And the fight I'm going for is the Errol Spence versus you guys fight. You guys, even though he has a belt, I just feel like to him it's like, hey, I'm the underdog anyway. I ain't got nothing to lose. is that even more dangerous for Errol Spence having a guy
I mean,
like that that
it's definitely dangerous for anyone because I was that guy. I was that guy. Even you guys know when I fought Ito, I was that
Yep,
guy.
yep,
Even when I was going into the Frankfurt fight,
yep,
I was
Yeah,
that guy
Frampton.
again
yep.
as a champion. So like when you get like that, like hey, I ain't got nothing to lose. All I got to do go ahead and just fight my fight. You know what I'm saying? Fight my heart out, and just go and do what I got to do. And that's how Ugas is probably looking at it as well. He wasn't. If we're being honest, he wasn't supposed. He was a last replacement for the Pacquiao fight. He
Right,
wasn't supposed to go out there and do what he did with Pacquiao.
right.
He gave Pacquiao all Pacquiao could handle. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And he looked good doing it. And he's right now. If you like how we say it in boxing, he's right now. He's just collecting free money. You know what I mean? He's
right.
whether he
And,
wins or draw. You know what I mean? He's like, hey, listen, if I don't win, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I got paid really well for my services. But if I do go out here and continue winning, that sets me up for the next big fight. So I'm just playing with free money right now. But so you gotta be wary of those guys. I mean, I think like I said,
and Jamel, people are still arguing to this day that they feel that he beat Sean Porter.
oh yeah, of course, yeah. A lot of people, yeah. I
Right.
mean, that was a hell of a close fight. And yeah, I even thought that that Ugas had pulled out, enough in that fight. But yeah, man, like he's not someone to look over or to
Right.
think is a pushover. Like no, I mean, it's been a while since he's taken the fell to defeat. And I know Arrow's always on point, and he doesn't look over anyone. But definitely, Arrow probably has more to lose than Ugas does at the end of the day by far.
Jamel, can you give us any insight? Why is it so difficult to face Cuban fighters, man? They just seem so difficult to beat.
Because they have this style that they've been manifesting and maturing since the time they even put a pair of gloves on. You know what I mean? And most of them they stick with that formula. So over time, all you can if you stick with the same formula that you've been doing for 20, 30 years, over time, all you do is basically perfecting that formula to where you perfected it so well, and you're just crafty at you know what I'm saying, you're just crafty at what you do. I mean, look at guys like Aris Lonnie Lara. Like for a while,
Yeah,
when he fought guys like Paul Williams, people thought that he beat Paul.
right,
He beat Paul Williams, and some even argue that he may have he may have did enough to beat guys like Canelo, but he's kept to that same craft and that style that just frustrates a lot of fighters, both amateur and pro. And that's why sometimes they try to label it as boring, whatever. In terms depends who
right,
the fighter is, but most of
right.
these fighters they stick with their with their game from amateur all the way into the pros. I mean, look at guys like Rancis Bartholomew and so
Yep.
on. So Rigondeaux and all those guys.
Yes.
That's just who they are. That's what they are. I mean, it may not be the most entertaining, but it works. That's all that matters to them. It works.
Right.
If they could just okay, in the amateur rankings at the time, it was all about points. Now for them as a pros, it's all about hey, let me just do enough what I got to do
Mhm.
just to put in those rounds, bag those rounds and go from there.
And my guy Jamel, and when you got a Cuban that's a heavyweight and can punch like Luis Ortiz, that right there is entertaining.
Right. He was even because even for himself, he was giving Wilder
Oh
issues
yeah.
in the second fight, and then he
Right.
just got caught. But
Right.
he was winning that fight. I mean, some
Yes.
say he was winning the first fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. Like those guys are so crappy and they can frustrate you. And once they get in your head, it's all downhill.
Right. Another fan asked, "Do you think Colbert could give Shakira a competitive fight?"
Honestly, I don't know right now because we still have to see more from Chris, in my opinion.
Chris.
Chris is not a bad fighter, don't get me wrong. But when you start to get fighters, trying to get to that elite status, you want to see more from them as they go up. I mean, think about it now, people still asking more of guys like Devin Haney, and he's a world champion. You know what I mean? He's a
Right.
world, but it's all like I said, it's all about your resume and who you're fighting out there to be mentioned with other guys in that caliber.
Right. Right. Oh man. Go ahead.
Okay, so I know lately the I know no everybody's giving him a hard time. It's the Ryan Garcia being the Twitter champion or the Instagram champion. What are your thoughts on that? Of him talking about trying to fight Isaac Cruz or whoever, and it seems like whenever a fight's presented to him, it's like, oh, I can't do it. We got to jump around to do
I
this
think I
fight.
think I, I
Now
think
it's
Ryan.
between Tevin Farmer, Jojo Diaz,
I think
and I
Ryan.
don't know who's next.
He's his
Go
own
ahead.
worst
Sorry.
enemy. He's his own worst enemy, if you ask me, because he places himself out there too much. And I think the one thing I dislike is this, like you mentioned, something like he'll watch a fight. He'll watch a fight in his division, and it may be somebody he had some issues with, a Tank or a Devin, and he'll criticize the way they've looked. But at the same time, it's like, okay, I get your point, but you're not doing anything, in terms of the sport as a whole. Like, 1 minute is, you guys sit out to take care of yourself, mentally. Okay, whatever, cool. But don't be that guy also to criticize, everyone out there around your class. And it's like, okay, when you do get presented a big fight to put you to see if you're better than your peers, something crazy comes up, or some other headline comes up, or you didn't negotiate that fight, or you're not accepting this fight. So I mean, I feel like he's his own worst enemy, just from the way, he constantly puts himself out there and talk. It doesn't mean, like, I'm not saying he doesn't have the talent, but it's like, he's starting to lose a lot of fanfare, because it's like it's hard to, what I'm saying, to gamble on him. It's like, man, do I get excited for this Ryan fight, or does some other mess pop up where Ryan's out for another 6-7 months? So I mean, I think he's his own worst enemy dealing with social media. Social media was his biggest, obviously, platform that got him to where he's at, but at the same time, now it's one of his biggest. It could be poison at the same on the other side of that coin.
And you know what? Alejandro brought up something I forgot. I meant to ask you this also, Jamel. When Alejandro talked about the social media king and all that, I'm personally not a big fan of the whole Logan Paul, Jake Paul fighting, and
Right.
that's just not me. I want to see real fighters fight real fighters, right? If you want to have your own celebrity boxing, fine, celebrity versus celebrity, right? But the success and the money that's being generated, do you think Jake Paul or Logan Paul or the TikTokers or whatever, do you think they're bringing their millions of fans from their YouTube social media accounts, right? Do you think that boxers, in order to generate the kind of money that Logan and Jake Paul and others are doing, do you think there needs to be more of a social media presence, or weekly vlog, or behind the scenes about your life, or weekly training camp showing behind the scenes? Because honestly, let's be honest, most fighters, we don't hear from them until it's the time
Right.
for them to fight. Do you
Right.
think they need during the off season to be more consistent on social media? Because that's where everything's at. That's how people
I
get to
mean,
know
I
you.
mean, a lot of that, the blame is to put the blame to the fighters, because, like I said, some fighters don't like to give access to their base until it's time to fight. I've seen it. I've seen it a lot of times. A lot of fighters, they don't do interviews. They don't they don't do much of anything. They don't want, like I said, they're not like what I'm doing right now. You don't see a lot of these guys,
Right,
getting on,
right,
getting just to speak with where they're at that point in
right.
time. And at the same time, that's why you have a promoter. A promoter should be out also supposed to promote you and put you in maybe in different situations to where it's honestly more than just the boxing aspect. Sometimes your promoter can set you up to where they put you on maybe shows, or like you put it out, where they do things where your fans are getting more access to your how you live and your lifestyle. But a lot goes into that, and it's really hand in hand. But for the most part, it starts with the fighter. Like, you see me, I don't have to fight, but I'm always accessible to everyone out there. I'll talk to everybody. I have no issue. When you
Mhm.
hit me up, and hey, let's just schedule it. Let's just schedule it. And if I got, as long as I'm free, I'm with it. Or on my own social media presence, I go out there, I talk to everybody. But
So
um,
Jamel, you're a perfect example. So being that you're in New York, right? Do you feel that the promoters should do, you take like Hot 97 or the Breakfast Club, right?
right,
You only see let's call it the top tier fighters that actually get on those shows. But do you think more promoters should do a better job of getting these fighters on radio shows, which are really like video podcasts now and all that?
Yeah, I mean, and then because if you look at it from maybe like, let's say like 30, 40 years ago, they were doing that with their fighters. They were putting their fighters
Right.
on different. I mean, you had Marvin Hagler on 227. You know what I mean? Doing, on comedy. Marvin Hagler was one of the most serious fighters at that time. But here he is. He's out there on sitcoms, and he's doing
Yes.
this, and
Yeah.
you got the
Yeah.
Ray Leonards and the Durans doing 7-Up commercials and things. And so like they were getting their star power out there further than just even in the sports world. You know what I mean? So I think we got to start going back to that. That's why, like, for me now, I try to get into everything. I'm not saying I'm going to be, big as maybe the Canelos at the end of the day in my own right, but at the same time, I want my name to be everywhere that something that I could possibly put it at. You know what I mean? So I think it's basically for me it's a team effort. You got to, as a fighter, you got to go out there and speak with your promoter, and sometimes maybe demand that they get you out there more. But at the same time, you got to be willing to put yourself out there as well. You know what I mean? You can't just be like, all right, I got my paycheck. I'm going to go back home and call me up and call me back in 6 months, and we'll talk about the next fight, and we'll go from there.
Right. So Jamel, do you feel that a lot of fighters, maybe they don't do that? Do you think some fighters feel that their promoter is not approachable? Do you think some guys are intimidated like that?
I don't think it's that, because I mean, a lot of us, we have within the company people that we can lean on and speak with. You know what I'm saying? Like I can get on the phone right now and just call whoever I got to call with over at even our top rank, and just talk about an idea or something that I may want to do, and we'll see that we can go from there. But like I said, it's all about communication. You got to be willing. You got to be willing to sit at the table, and both ends have to come to have to find somewhere they can meet in the middle and go from there.
Jamel, it's funny that you said that, because I remember seeing, I think it's about a couple years ago, I remember Kevin Hart when he was doing his tours and stuff like that, right? And one of the things I found out, he talked about how he got double paid. He said not only did like Madison Square Garden or wherever he went to, not only did they book him as Kevin Hart, the comedian, but they also paid him for advertising. And I like, advertising. He said, I got them to pay me as a comedian. Then I got them to pay me to do my own advertisement, because I had 2, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million followers. So they paid me because I was blasting out. Come out here to watch me tonight. Right. Hey, I'm being here next week. Do you think that's something that fighters should start thinking about doing, especially if they have a large following?
But that comes, like I said, again, to the whole, like, you got sometimes you gotta self-promote yourself and put yourself out there. Like, I'm always active. Even like after I lost, I was back out there. I wasn't hiding from nobody. I wasn't complaining or making any excuses. I was back out there in the mix, speaking on this fight. I was commentating. You know what I mean? I was at supporting. I was at Buzz fight. I was speaking with the media, or I was doing interviews. So I was taking advantage of the of those platforms at the end of the day. So like, man, you sometimes, like, if you feel like, I think the best promoter is yourself at times, but you got to be willing to, you got to get up and do it. Willing to do it yourself at times. Some of these guys, again, they will get a big push when their fights come on, and that's great. You know what I mean? But like, what are they doing? What are they doing to advertise and get their name out there more, or keep their name relevant in between fights?
Yeah, just like you said, when are you going to commentate a fight again?
Actually,
do you like that?
Yeah. Actually, yeah, it's fun with me, because it's like just like how we are now. For me, commentating is like I just speak my knowledge or what I see and go from there. I don't look at it as a job, or it was like I gotta force it. Like, no, I just be natural and just speak naturally about it. And I actually called Top Rank about a few weeks ago, asking if they had anything open, in the near future while I'm on my downtime. Let me know, and I'll get back there and commentate. But I mean, and plus, what I learned from commentating when I commentated on Lomachenko's last card, I got, there's a point where you sit down at the fighter meetings and listening to these fighters, no matter where they're at in their careers, you actually pick things from from how they handled themselves or what they did to prepare for that fight. Like I remember Usyk was with Lomachenko, and he was telling us like, listen, man, Lomachenko is a real one. There's been times where he'll beat me in the run, and he'll get back in the car and come back down to where I'm at while I'm running, and he'll help push me up the mountaintop. You know what I mean? And
Right.
this is coming from a guy who's at an elite level, but even
Right.
he's like, hey man, I got guys that I need to help motivate me to perform at my best, and this is the guy.
Yeah.
This is what I do. Or you'll have fighters saying, this is what I had to go through to get to here, and it's like those conversations they just motivate you, or you'll take stuff from them like, you know what, that makes a lot of sense. So I get a lot even from commentating by learning and talking with other fighters.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alejandro.
Yeah, what could you tell me about the B&B boxing experience that you had in Omaha, Nebraska? My fiance's from there, so I've been over there,
Right.
and I just went over there, and it was before they did the remodel. They just had a piece of wood written B&B,
Yeah,
and that's it.
they don't came up. Listen. But nah,
So
it's been great because Bud opened that gym. Basically, it's free to the public. It's free to the public, especially
Wow. So you don't have to pay for membership. Wow, that's great. That's what I call giving back to the community.
Yeah, no, that is
Yeah.
free. It's free. Like and it's mainly for the kids. And keep them out of trouble and keep them on the street. So the experience is great. And then when you had added me to the equation, I felt like it was an honor because now you have these kids looking up to me. So when I go in there,
Right.
I show everybody love. That's like I do now. So especially
Nice.
with the kids in my team, and more importantly, that there's no egos over there. Bud, we know where Bud stands at in terms of his what he's done with boxing and his caliber. But like Bud,
Right.
he'll treat you like any other human being in there. He's not looking
Right.
at you as he's better than you or he's bigger than you in life. He's he's just a down to earth dude, and that type of energy, you feed on it, and what I mean, people pick up on it, and that's why I get that same level of respect to everybody I come across as well, and I don't look down on anybody, but yeah, that B&B experience is good, and it's more of a family environment more than anything.
Isn't it a barn? I thought it was a barn,
Nah,
right?
they got like a big they got a building now. You know what I mean? They even got one side where Bud, because his sons they wrestle, so now there's a side for wrestling now. You know what I mean? That he has, where kids can come to learn to wrestle. So yeah, I mean, he definitely expanded it, and it's a lot bigger than what it was, 6 years ago or so.
Gotcha. And did you go to the fights when Bud fought in Omaha? Because the crowd, I went to one when he fought, when he became unified. I can't remember his name.
The African fighter, my man.
Yeah. Well, let me.
No, I
second.
actually didn't go to that because I was actually his sparring partner for that fight, but I had my own business to take care of, so I missed that fight. But I think the only
Molina fight, I went to the Molina and the.
Was that a Julius and Dongo? You talking about
Julius and Dongo. And to be honest,
I've been to the what was the last fight in Omaha with the that they had the bad beef, they had the bad blood.
Jose Benavidez.
Benavidez. No, the Benavidez. I've been to that fight. I was there. I was there for that fight, and it was crazy. Like just from because Omaha is not known for being a big fight city, but everyone is behind their man. So he'll have a huge turnout in Omaha for sure. So it's definitely a good experience out there in Omaha when Bud fights.
So yeah, when I went to that fight, it was probably the most electric atmosphere that I had in any fight when he fought Udango.
Oh, yeah. They love Bud. They love Bud.
So now, are you watching the football games? Are you keeping up with all that?
I'm keeping up, but like I said, man, it's rough for us New Yorkers. So I really just keep my distance from. What I mean, it's rough for New Yorkers out in the NFL world, either Jets or Giants. It's rough for us. But now, I've been yesterday had a lot of good close games, man. Like that almost near comeback from Tom Brady would have been something else. But yeah, man, it's been the playoffs. They always bring out their best A game, and so I wasn't surprised how close these scores are in the end.
All right, so we got Chad Perez that just got on. We've probably talked about it earlier. He just wants to know what's next for you, Jamel.
Like I said, right now I got guys. The main name that's been mentioned to me is actually Miguel Burchell and at lightweight. That's the one name that's been sticking out a lot. Like I said, I can't say for sure if it's going to happen or not, but I know Top Rank is interested in it. I know ESPN is, but we have to wait. We just have to wait and see. I know a fight with him at lightweights there. I can also move back down, stay at 130 because I have no issue making the weight. There's no issue there. All right, like I said, I'm glad y'all asked that. Hold on, because I got proof.
Okay.
Like I actually jumped in my man Eddie Hearn's DMs. And Eddie, you didn't reply to me, Eddie, because you see my DM, but you didn't reply to it. But yeah, this is Saturday. Yeah, this is Saturday. I said, hey, I asked. Hold on, what was that? Boom. I asked him if he and y'all see it says scene at the bottom, right? It says scene on the bottom. But I said, if it's up to him, I'll come to the UK and fight if he wanted and fight Ogawa. He's won the IBF version of the super featherweight title.
Right.
And that's just me being a fighter. Because y'all seen it like same thing I did for Frampton. I went overseas to fight Frampton, and I came out with a big win. So traveling, it does not bother me at all. But I basically said, Eddie, I'm reaching out to you at a respectful manner, but I'd love to have a match of Ogawa, even if it means coming to the UK. And I said, I'm looking for a reason. I'm looking for a reason to come out to the UK. That's why when you had broke the whole question about me fighting guys like Archie Sharp in the UK, I have an issue because I'm looking for a reason to go back to the UK. I haven't been to the UK. I haven't fought in the UK since the Olympics, so I'm looking for a reason to go back. But yeah, man, like I said, if there's a opportunity at either 130 or 135, then I'm open-minded, basically.
If you had a choice, which one would you pick?
I mean, I would go for the title. Of course. I would go for the title if that was up to me. But somebody needs to get yeah, exactly. Eddie's trying to keep that belt now. And so I was like, hey, if I gotta go to the UK to go get it though, I'm willing to go. So somebody need to go get Eddie out there on social media, like let him know that listening. Hey, I showed the DM.
Mm-hmm.
I reached out, Eddie, man.
He saw it.
Yep, he saw it.
Hey, let me know. Like I said, hey, let's go.
Hey, that's one thing I love about Jamel, man. You are not afraid to go anywhere to fight, man.
Nah.
Chad, we already talked about that earlier in the show. Would Love You versus Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, like I said, man, open mind to everything, man. Like,
Stop talking about it.
Yeah, but like with me, like I look at boxing. I mean, I just want some of my own legacy. So if I gotta take the fights here or there or whoever, it don't really bother me. As long as I just give me a fair shake, and I'm there. That's how I look at it.
Yep, there you have it. Listen, Jamel, we don't want to keep you up long. You had an interview before us, man. You're on the East Coast, man. It's over 11 o'clock, man. I'm gonna post this one last thing, and we're gonna wrap it. IBF are strict with their mandatories. Maybe you can fight the number one ranked guy for a mandatory position.
Whatever.
Yep, you down for whatever. It doesn't matter. Listen, Jamel, man, thank you once again for being on the show, man. Every time I ask, man, you never hesitate. You're always ready to hop on, man. So we appreciate it so much, man.
Thank you so much.
Man. Much love to y'all, man. Like I said, man, we'll talk again. Like I'll probably have some news shortly after next week. So whenever y'all want to get me back on, it's no thing for me.
All right, we definitely.
But again, this is why we need these platforms because y'all just said it right there. Hey, whatever can help get Eddie Hearn's attention.
Yes.
Hey, I put you out there, Eddie. I hit you up, and you keep looking at my DMs, but you're not saying nothing. But I know you're reading them.
Yep. Chad said, "Keep going, champ."
Hey, much love, Chad.
Chris, thanks for answering my questions, champ.
Oh no, anytime. And like I said, if anybody hit me up on social media, you can reach me on Twitter, Instagram at Jamel Herring, and we can talk from there.
Yep, man. Give our love to Jen, man. Tell her we asked for it, man.
Got you.
All right, man. Much love. Take care.
Much
Peace,
love,
brother.
Man. Take care.
Thanks, buddy.
No problem.